Guys from Yonkers, Royce once again, thank you for watching. Today we have Mayor Mike Spano taking time off from his busy schedule to speak with us. Unfortunately, we don't have too much time. And even regardless of how much time you gave us, would never be enough. So there is always questions to ask, there is always things that people want to know. So Mayor, thank you for taking the time.
Thanks. And of course, we can just do this again. Yeah.
Exactly, as time permits. So, in the sake of time, we're going to start right away. First, Mayor, I want to know about your health. I know you're exercising 4 or 5 days a week. How is that going?
Good. It's going pretty well. I had a little bit of a health scare, and something I guess we should all learn from. And it's good to go to the doctor. It's good to get checkups. It's good to take stress tests and do all the things you need to do. But it's also good to eat right and to practice healthy lifestyle and work out. So I had, like I said, you guys have reported that I had stress tests and I had to put a stint in, and I did, and I've been, I feel real good. I have great health care. The doctor was fantastic, my doctor, and I've been just eating right and working out and taking care of myself a little better than maybe I did before.
And that's the key thing, and that's an advice that we all should take. Most of the time we react to it instead of being preventive to it. I'm one of those guys. I need to exercise and do my thing. Now, Mayor, not long ago, one of your staff members had an accident. Okay, it was a shock to me because I know Akim personally. Great guy, and to our membership, they all wish him well, but they want to know, how is Akim doing?
Akim is doing okay. Akim is anyone who knows Akim loves Akim. He's a great kid. He's very bright. He has worked for me since he's 17 years old. He's got a long recovery ahead of him. I don't know if I'm allowed to at least talk specifically
HIPAA, we don't want to talk about
issues
yes.
of the HIPAA laws and all, but he's going to recover. He's going to fully recover. He'll be back to work, and of course he'll do the things he has to do. And but it's going to be a long recovery for him. And a lot of people have sent their well wishes to him, and I've gone to see him a couple of times in the hospital already. And like I said, he's going to be fine. That's the good news. I mean, the good news is he'll be okay, but he does have a long road to recover.
Well, you guys heard from the mayor. Long road to recover, but he will recover. And that's really
and when I say long, we're talking not years. We're talking we're talking months.
Months. Good enough.
And but I expect he'll be back to work probably inside of 2 or 3 months, and then. Of course, time will heal what's happened.
Now, Mayor, let's talk about Yonkers. Some of us are seeing Yonkers progressing. Great news, Lion Gate is coming to Yonkers. MGM is in Yonkers, right?
Yes, sir.
How many jobs for the people of Yonkers?
Well, think about
What's the deal?
Yeah, let's talk about MGM first, because Lionsgate is still... while it's going to happen, they still haven't come into this office yet to have a discussion to talk about a community benefits package, because that's what it's about. But let's talk about MGM, Yonkers Raceway, and we are in active discussions with them about a community package, a community benefits package. And so you're talking about a facility that employs currently about 1,200 people. Most of their employees are Yonkers residents. They're good paying jobs, but if Yonkers Raceway was given permission from New York State to do full gaming, in other words, right now when they do craps or they do blackjack and those different types of machines, they're not manned by human hands. They're essentially just a big video game. And if given the opportunity to have full gaming from New York State, those machines will be replaced with people, 5 people for every machine. So we would see our employees and the staff at Yonkers Raceway increase exponentially. It would go from 1,200 employees to nearly 6,000 employees.
No, that is still pending, right, Mayor?
Yes.
Or is it final that
You're
the
talking about
licensing?
full gaming?
Yes.
No, that's still pending. There's a process. We have to lobby Albany right now. New York State's agreement with the other casinos upstate is that Yonkers won't open till, or won't be given the opportunity to get a license to a minimum 2023. What we're attempting to do is get the governor and the legislature to amend that law, change that law, to allow Yonkers to have full gaming, to have it quicker, like now. If MGM is actually trying to, because there's not just the benefit to us, but there's a benefit to the casinos upstate, because MGM would actually have to pay for this license. It could be anywhere up to $1 billion or more. And so, and New York State has the ability to get a tremendous amount of revenue out of this, but it's up to the governor really at the end of the day.
At the end of the day.
And so, but we are lobbying the governor in an effort to say, give Yonkers the ability to have full gaming, because what New York State has done, and New York State has done this before, they put restrictions in on Yonkers because they know Yonkers will be successful. You know, everyone knows that if you put a casino in Yonkers, because of our proximity to New York City, because we're in the center of 20 million people here in the metropolitan area, that Yonkers will be successful. So in an effort to get the upstate casinos off the ground, they told the upstate casinos, because every one of them said, well, about Yonkers, we're going to hold Yonkers off. You guys get started, you guys build your business, and then we'll let Yonkers do it. We're saying, you know what, don't have Yonkers suffer because we know we're going to be successful. Let's give Yonkers the ability now. Gives us jobs. We can do a community package, benefits package. In other words, what we want them to do, hire locally, local training. I mean, we're putting additional money to our schools. You know, $10, $20 million of additional money into our schools. These are the things that we'll negotiate with that casino if we're given the green light from Albany.
Okay, well, Mayor, now since we mentioned jobs, the job creation that will happen with these two big companies that, MGM and Lionsgate, if that happens, which we think will happen, that will help the people of Yonkers tremendously. Because, and we want to jump on that and connect that to the homeless, because there is a lot of people, not all, but there is a lot of homeless people that they are homeless not because they don't work, it's because whatever they make is not enough to afford a rent in the city of Yonkers. Hopefully, these new jobs that are coming to Yonkers, if they are good paying jobs, that will alleviate, to a certain point, the homeless in Yonkers.
It's a holistic approach. You're 100% right. It's not, remember, when we talk to the homeless population that lives in our city, many of them are not from Yonkers.
We spoke about that a few times, yes.
And so, but we're realistic to the fact that many are. And we also know that some people suffer from mental illness. Some people are just don't have the means, like you said, the jobs, to be able to support the lifestyle of being able to pay rent and live in the community. So yes, we want to make sure there are enough jobs here so that when the tide goes up in the harbor, all the boats go up with it, so that there are jobs available for the residents who live here. When we're developing this waterfront and we are putting large developments where we all know there were none before, so we haven't torn anything down and replaced housing that was there. We built new housing and added to what's here. And my hope is when you put a mixed group of incomes that include people who make pretty good incomes into our community here, that it's going to have positive impact on everyone that lives here. Because remember, the people that are here, they have money, they need a shop. Not all the people have money, obviously. some of the new residents that are
One
coming
of those
in,
that don't have
you know,
it.
they need to shop, they need to you know, entertain themselves, and all that requires employment. And you want to employ people that live in the community, who live here. And so we're hopeful that that'll have the impact that we're pushing for it.
Well, making the sake of time, I have to ask a few questions. You signed into law a week ago the vaping, against the sale of vaping, flavored vaping in Yonkers, correct?
Yes,
People can still buy it outside of Yonkers. Hopefully this law will be contagious and it will spread. But right now it's just Yonkers. But I have to ask you this question because my audience asked me to please ask you. Vaping, the sale of e-cigarettes, it's illegal in Yonkers now. But marijuana is about to become legal in Westchester County. Okay, at least they're more lenient to it. Isn't marijuana as addictive as vaping?
That's a good question. I wish I don't know the answer to that, and so I'll be straight up with you. I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
But I will tell you though that what we're attempting to do with the getting rid of flavored, right? Flavored vaping is to eliminate what we see as a direct hit on children. I don't perceive, even if they legalize marijuana in New York State, that it will ever be directed at kids. And if
I
it
understand the
is,
distinction,
if they
yes.
start selling flavored, you know, pot, then obviously we'd have to deal with that. But this goes back to cigarettes. And when cigarette companies and tobacco companies were targeting kids, and they didn't target them, they targeted them kind of in a roundabout way, you know. So what do? Well, they do, you know, bubblegum flavored cigarettes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I don't know about you, but I'm not really interested in bubblegum flavored cigarettes.
Yeah.
But if you were a kid, you might be. And so what the government did back then was they eliminated flavored cigarettes like this because they felt that by its very nature it was targeting kids. That's the same approach we're taking. That these flavored you know, vaping is targeting kids. And you know, you think about it, right? I have a 14, a 16-year-old, an 18-year-old, and a 20-year-old. And I know that that my kids, and I'm sure they're just like average kids, like any other kid. They bought into the anti-smoking commercials and the anti-smoking ads, and they were almost grossed out when they'd see their uncle smoking and say, "You see those commercials? How could you ever smoke?" And probably never would have picked up a cigarette, but you take the new technology associated with e-cigarettes and the fact that these e-cigarettes are hitting that new generation, and it's kind of like big tobacco has figured out a way to end run around all this good work that we did after all these years to keep kids, to keep that next generation from smoking. They figured out to use new technology and tobacco, put them together, and attract our kids into doing that. And you know, I know at least one of my kids is and has vaped, and you know, my hope is that in my conversations with him that he is, you know, not vaping still. But you know, we can only do what we can do with our teenagers, right? And so we push hard and we tell them, you know, the right direction, and then it's up to them. But I think that's the same thing we do here. We're hopeful that what we did here catches, and that other communities will do it around New York State, which is to get rid of those flavored vapes, because they are, by their very nature, if you listen to the different flavors that they all have, they're targeting kids.
They are.
And kids are becoming, and the statistics are alarming as to how many of our young people are now using these e-cigarettes.
Okay. Now, Mayor, let's go into something else now. You're running, general election are coming up in about a month. We have seen Yonkers progress, And I'm sure that you have plans for bigger and nicer thing for Yonkers. I need something, I need an exclusive, something that nobody knows.
Well, let's see. I'll give you one. Tuckahoe Road, UPS is moving into the old GE building, right? Remember Pop's Display?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So you'll hear about that soon. That's a pretty big one because that could be about 500, Teamster jobs, good paying jobs. It'll be in a facility that will be entirely inside, and so we'll have very minimum impact on the people that live around there. The traffic will be minimum impact because the traffic is on off hours, just like FedEx is. So we were able to attract another good, solid company to Yonkers, and Tuckahoe Road seems to be that corridor, especially for the retail industry.
Mayor, I don't know if this is the right word, but you're going to start trouble in Yonkers. Not really Yonkers, but around Yonkers, because you're going to make all these municipalities around Yonkers be jealous of Yonkers.
I guess that's the intention. But I want them to be so jealous they want to live here, because I've always felt that there are two different kinds of people, right? There's those of us who live in Yonkers and those of us who want to live in Yonkers. And so, when people, we kid around, but at the end of the day, you just want people to be proud of who they are and where they're from. And Yonkers is a good city with a lot of good things happening in it. We're the fourth largest city in the state, the 112th largest city in the country, and we're not perfect. We have our issues, and we have our challenges like every other city does, but we meet them and meet them head on, and people aren't afraid to say they live in Yonkers anymore.
And that's a good thing. Now, Mayor, I have to touch on this one. You were a Republican. You are now a Democrat. We have Councilman John Rubel also switched parties not long ago, or showed intentions of switching parties. How is your support? How do you see that? You welcome this change if it's genuine? Because, if we look at the record, yes, he has voted in line with the Democrats, but he hasn't been really a Democrat. Right. And he won the election on a Republican line. Many people feel betrayed by this swap. Others are welcoming this swap.
I mean, listen, you know what? When I left the Republican Party, actually, I've always felt, people ask me, I always say the Republican Party left me. But that was, 16 years ago. So it was a tough decision because, I had my father and my family, and they were all registered Republicans. I love the Republican Party. I was, very pro-labor, very pro-choice, I believed in freedom of choice, and that meant not just a woman's right to choose, but a person's right to choose who they love. And these were all issues that were very much important to me, but they were not issues that were very popular within the Republican Party, right?
But that's the difference, Mayor. That's the difference. Even though you were a Republican, very often you sided with the Democratic line. So that's a big difference.
Rubel is a good representative. He's very good to deal with, as most of our council members. And, remember, the council president was a Republican, then an independent, then a Democrat.
Yes.
And so, it's a very personal decision people have to make, and it does come with, people will remember that, and whether it's, and I guess it'll be up to the voters to see what they do. But I will tell you this: the issues that matter most to Yonkers residents are not going to be issues that you wouldn't normally associate with Republicans and Democrats, right? people are going to ask, they're going to ask about project labor agreements, going to ask about affordable housing, they're going to ask about quality of our schools. I mean, these are things that people ask, and last time I checked, these are issues that are important pretty much to both sides.
Those are people's issues, not...
Yeah, and so you're never really going to get the issue of abortion or the death penalty or anything else like that at the city council level. I think if Councilman Roubeau is true to himself and true to his beliefs, which he's not led me to believe anything other than that, then he's got a lot of work to do to go out there and convince the people of his council district that he's there for to serve them, and that's it. But like I said, it's not easy to switch parties. It really isn't. It takes a lot of guts, actually, frankly, to do it, because people don't normally do that so easily. So I guess I would have to say you probably should ask him his thoughts on it.
We have
mine,
yes.
but like I said, mine was pretty easy because I always felt that I was when I finally went to the Democratic Party, I was home. It's where I was. It's where I should have been, and it was very much consistent with my core beliefs.
Well, we have a few members here, saying thank you for the great job that you have done for Yonkers. Omi Medina, Lenny, Steve Simpson, and a few others that are very happy with what you have done for Yonkers. But that is something that it's on people's mind, Mayor. And I have noticed that lately Yonkers has been very quiet. But once in a while we have these spikes, these things that are going on, crime. And the sad thing is the majority of these crimes, stabbings, shooting, involves kids. Okay? They are the victims, or they are the ones that maybe the guys who did it. Not long ago, I think about 2 weeks ago, there was a 12-year-old that was shot on Highland. We need to address what is the cause of this. It's on the parents, it's on society, it's on social media. What advice can you give to those parents?
It's probably one of the most frustrating things that any mayor has to deal with is the area, especially the area of gun violence in cities. We all know that over 40 young, mostly African American males, die in the streets of American cities every single day. Come tomorrow, by this time, there'll be another 40 young people dying on the streets of American cities. And how are they dying? Mostly dying because of gun violence. Some, obviously, in other ways, but mostly because of gun violence. And the only way, aside from good, solid policing, listen, bottom line is our numbers are down, and they're down over 40% since 2011, and that's a real number.
But one murder is one murder too many, right?
I completely agree with you. Completely agree with you. You couldn't be more right. We have to stop the trafficking of guns into the streets of our kids. New York State itself has probably some of the toughest gun laws in the entire country. So then you'd say to yourself, well, then how are we still having gun violence in our streets of our cities? Well, because obviously we're a free country, and you can go from New York to New Jersey to Pennsylvania to Connecticut and go anywhere you want. And if those laws or if it's easier to get guns in those states, and in many of them it is, then those guns find their way back into the streets, into the hands of our kids. If you put a gun in the hand of a kid, the outcome is not going to be pretty no matter which way you look at it. So the federal government has to do something to help us deal with the trafficking of guns into our community. That's the only way this is going to work. We can outright ban guns in New York State. It doesn't matter. You know why? Because those guns are still going to be here. We buy guns. We do buyback programs. We have tough laws. We do the Snugs program. We do all. We cover the entire, community as best we can. But we all know, those guns are still going to make it here.
So
And
Mayor,
that's because of the federal government's inability or unwillingness, which is probably what it is, to pass any substantive gun control laws that will help us.
so just to make it clear for our audience, we are not anti-gun. You are anti-guns, illegal guns on the hands of criminals.
Absolutely.
That's what it is. So
No, I'm not anti-gun. Listen, I'm not an anti-gun person at all. I get it. And I get the Second Amendment. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about, people who go out and go through the process and get a legal handgun. Frankly, they're not the ones committing the crime.
Exactly.
That's not what's happening.
Yeah.
We're talking about these legal guns that are purchased illegally and
for the purpose
find their
of
way.
committing crimes.
Right, for the purpose, right. And a lot of them, frankly, are military-style weapons that shouldn't have a place in our society at all. I mean, I think that we can all safely say you don't need an AK or whatever they call these weapons. If they're a military-style weapon, they're not being used to go hunting, ever. They're being used for very bad things. And so the federal government should really have no problem in outlawing these weapons and doing it kind of quickly. But like I said, they have not been able, and I don't know how many other shootings you can have. I mean, we are at a point now in America where every single day, every day, there is a active shooter. It could, every day, either at a daycare, senior residence, grammar school, high school, or college campus. Every single day there is an incident in America. So, and then of course, we don't talk about the 44, young people, they're dying in the streets of American cities every single day. We never talk about that. And that's something we should be talking about because it's real and it's happening. I mean, like I said, when you have when you have the big shooting, when you have 30, 40 people shot at one time, there's always this move to change all the laws in America, and then you don't really hear about it.
2 weeks later, it fades away.
Right, and it's scary now because now it's getting to the point where people are almost a little too accepting of this whole thing. They should be horrified by this. Well, we'll say this. If 44 kids were dying in the streets of American City, and if there were 44 white children dying in the streets of American cities every single day,
There would be a different reaction.
our cities would be on lockdown. There is no willingness to deal with this. And I don't know what it's going to take, because I think every time I think of what it could take and what it could have taken, that's already happened. The fact it hasn't changed yet is extremely troubling to me and very frustrating.
Scary. Well, guys, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you to Mayor Spano for taking the time to speak with us on his first cyber town hall. And it's a great thing because, Mayor, we can reach many people. They can hear the message, from their offices, homes. Okay, so I think it's a great thing. So thank you for taking the time, and thank you for sitting with Yonkers Voice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Till next time.